Let's talk about the difference between bugs and errors in code. So, bugs and errors are not the same. When I first started writing code, I was kind of fuzzy on this whole idea. And to be honest, I think for a long time I assumed they were just kind of the same thing. In reality, bugs are bad, as you probably know. But the interesting thing is that errors are not always bad. Not always bad. Okay. As we've defined them, bugs are kind of unexpected things that are happening in our code. So we want our code to do something, right? It's hopefully something useful. And if it's not doing that thing, then we say we have a bug in our code. So bugs are things that are unexpected. To give an example, let's say that we had a function in our code that adds two numbers, something like add, and it takes X and Y as inputs, and it produces some result. We'll just call it Z. If we called add with 2 and 3, and we got the result of 7, we would say we have a bug, right? We expected the add function when given 2 and 3 to produce a 5, but we are getting a 7 instead. That's a bug. It's something that's unexpected in our code. An error, on the other hand, is very often expected. And our job as programmers is to handle that error gracefully. So the way we approach fixing bugs and errors is quite different, right? When we have a bug, really the only thing we can do is go fix the code, right? We actually have to go fix our application. Now, to be fair, there are certain circumstances where fixing a bug might be too expensive, or maybe the bug is there, but it's actually not affecting many of the users, so we can kind of ignore it for now. That's more of a business and cost decision, right? In a perfect world with unlimited resources, of course, we would always fix all bugs. But the point that I'm trying to get across is when there's a bug, really all you can do is fix the code. Errors, on the other hand, sometimes are unavoidable. You can't actually fix the code to remove errors. So, for example, an error that you might get in your code is there is no internet connection. So if you're writing a web app that needs to communicate over the internet to get its job done, and the user's computer has been disconnected from the internet, there's really nothing in your code that you can do to fix that, right? You can't magically bring back an internet connection. So all you can really do is handle that error gracefully, right? Maybe by showing a message to the user. Another common error might be something like the remote server is down. So you're writing some code on one machine that, again, maybe reaches out over a network to a server or a database. And while you have internet connection, maybe that server is offline. So that's another common type of error that crops up. That, again, nothing's wrong with your code, but it's something that you need to be able to handle and maybe display to the user, something like that. Another common error would be user input. Bad user input, right? So maybe you're writing an application that requires users to have passwords over 12 characters, right? When a user puts in a 10-character password, we might consider that an error. Again, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with our code, but we need to handle that error and maybe display some message to the user. One final note on the distinction between bugs and errors is that bugs have to be fixed in code. Errors have to be handled in code, right? So we expect errors, we must handle them. If we don't handle our errors properly, they may result in bugs.